This is Dolynny TV, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers discussion here on the channel today. And over the course of, well, I could say the next week or so, we're going to have some interesting things happening, all right? I can tell you that much. Over the next week or so, there's a couple of equipment upgrades happening here on the channel. You already see a completely new look to the back here, where we've kind of changed things around and added some hats on the rack kind of deal, which is really nice. But I'm promising things are going to start picking up here as we get towards the NHL draft over the next week or so. It's just a matter of right now, got to get through this upcoming weekend down in Arrowwood, doing the rodeo down there. And then, of course, everything can pick up come Monday. So that's channel notes. Now, what we need to know is if you're new to the channel, friends, and you want more Oilers news, because I'm promising more is coming, consider hitting that subscribe button here on Dolynny TV. I'd love to have you aboard. I know that for some reason, in fact, actually, both Patrick and I have been noticing that things are kind of grinding to a halt here as we approach the NHL draft in terms of Oilers land. Just, I think, based on an agreed assumption that it was a really crappy way to end the year. And it is completely fair that a lot of people are just done with the Oilers for the time being. Come back, talk to me in September when we are talking about new results, right? That's where we're at. And obviously the offseason stuff hasn't really been that exciting. Like the big free agent acquisition is going to be Connor Brown. Yeah, 2-3 years ago, get me excited, but now it's like you're going to trade Yamamoto for nothing, not have to give up more, but nothing, and then get Connor Brown in there. It's a mess, but that's what we're going to discuss in today's video, friends. That's what I'm setting up, is Yamamoto, of course, Connor Brown, and then a little bit just going rambling about the rest of the stuff happening across the NHL today and kind of how it settles things down for the Edmonton Oilers going into the next week. So buyouts are happening across the NHL. Things are starting to shake out a little bit. The Arizona Coyotes have kind of had an interesting one. That's where I want to start. Zack Kassian has been bought out by the Arizona Coyotes, or will be bought out by the Arizona Coyotes tomorrow. That, of course, is of relevance for us Oilers fans because go back a few years, the Oilers signed him to that deal, that 4-year deal that pretty much every Oilers reporter is dumping on today, saying that it was a bad deal at the time. But realistically, had the cap increased, right, as it would have, had things not gone completely sideways in the world at the time when it did, and secondarily to that, think too that Kassian had performed to the level he had from 16-17 to 17-18, 18-19, you know what? That contract's fully justifiable. Things changed, didn't work out, whatever. But that's kind of where I think a lot of people are going to be like, oh, he's being bought out. Why wouldn't the Oilers be interested in a guy like that? There's pretty much, according to Mark Spector and a couple other guys I've seen today, it's like 0% chance that you're going to see Zack Kassian back in an Edmonton Oilers uniform. I think, in fact, we've probably seen the last of Zack Kassian in an NHL uniform at this point. And now that brings me to another guy that is going to be a cap casualty, and that's something we want to talk about in Kailer Yamamoto. It was released yesterday across social media, I think specifically somewhere, I want to say The Athletic or something, talking about Kailer Yamamoto's situation. Now, Yamamoto's situation is very, very interesting to the Oilers because, you know, we want to trade him. That's what's been made clear. We don't want to give up assets, and it appears as such that across the NHL, there are teams out there willing to take Yamamoto for a price that doesn't cost the Oilers more, right? It might be Kailer Yamamoto for nothing, like we've seen a couple trades happen over the past few years, right? Wasn't it Brett Burns for nothing or whatever? But you get where I'm going, is right now it's not going to cost the Edmonton Oilers extra assets to get rid of Kailer Yamamoto. That is a huge, 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 huge plus for us as Oilers fans after, of course, having to pay to get rid of Kassian. And now we're trying to get rid of 1 year of Yamamoto to bring in Connor Brown. And this is where I want to get to Connor Brown stuff. You can go check out Luke Gazdick's social media. It's Maple Leads, I think, is where you can find it. You can find it on his personal feed as well. In terms of, he's kind of doing some interview style stuff on the desk with some NHL players. Connor Brown being one interesting name he's doing one with that'll release, I think, on the 25th full edition. But Connor Brown pretty much stated, without stating, that he's going to the Oilers, if you follow the English on that one. But he pretty much said, like, I don't know why me, who I am, and what I want, why I wouldn't sign in Edmonton given the situation, right? My buddy Connor McDavid, he's going to win a Stanley Cup in Edmonton. Why don't I want to win a Stanley Cup with him, right? That's kind of what Connor Brown stated with Luke Gazdic today. And friends, I will tell you, if you're watching along and kind of following how Luke Gazdic's post-playing career is playing out, Luke Gazdic is going to become a very pivotal piece of whether it be Oilers or Canadian NHL media. Luke Gazdic is going to be a very important player in that space. So please continue, if you haven't already, follow Maple Leads on Twitter. Follow Luke Gazdic on Twitter. Find ways to consume his content because he is going to be a very key piece moving forward. He's already a kind of panelist on Sportsnet. He's going to be an interesting piece, and especially with this interview series that he's doing on his podcast, you are going to want to check that out and get some insight, because if we're already getting something like this in a preview from Connor Brown, trust me, there's going to be a lot of fun stuff. And guess what team he's most connected to? It's going to be the Edmonton Oilers, so that's going to be very pivotal for us to make sure we're paying attention to right there. That's just a little tips and tricks of the business there for you. Other than that, it's really just kind of one of those things. I want to go back to that observation that I was talking about that Patrick and I were making. This is my frustration, right? We have a whole lot of talk so far, whole lot of non-action happening. Yamamoto's been the biggest discussion, but when I will say it's kind of a lose-lose situation, right? Talking about Yamamoto all day, nobody wants to talk about Yamamoto. We wish, A, he turned out and would have been a great player. B, cap casualty. C, people have been calling to get rid of him since he was drafted, right? It's a lose-lose-lose-lose kind of situation here with Yamamoto. There's no actual win. It's not like the Oilers can flip him for anything. You go take a look through the comments on both videos I did on Travis Konechny last week. Flyers fans are like, no way we'd take Yamamoto. Why? It's like, I get it, but it was something that was discussed, right? And this is the tough part, is the Oilers have to find a solution here, but there isn't really a winning solution. So kind of this whole summer is all about trying to find the most marginal win you can that's going to cost you the least, because there is no big game hunting for the Oilers this year unless somehow Erik Karlsson becomes available. That's the only thing I could see actually changing the complexion of the Oilers offseason drastically. Connor Brown's going to be your biggest free agent acquisition in my opinion, and we're going to add maybe a defenseman on the right-hand side. But other than that, you're really not doing much as the Oilers this year, and it kind of takes us back to that decade of darkness where Patrick's got some great lines. I'll refer you to ask him about his great lines, but just talking about some of the documentary stuff that happened for the Oilers and the great free agent signings we had back in those days, that's kind of what this summer is going to be. And kind of just between Patrick and I being able to go back and forth a couple of times, what I'm really taking away is you look at the summer we had last year, right? The summer leading up to Jack Campbell signing, leading up to everything that was going on for the Oilers. It was so incredible, right? The Evander Kane signing, like everything that could possibly happen to set up last year happened. And now, right, what do we got? What? Evan Bouchard? Guess what? Half the fan base wants him gone because he doesn't play hard enough defense. Well, again, right, what am I supposed to do here is sit here and talk about the same things on loop, and that's kind of why, to just kind of home back into what we're going for in this video and in terms of updates, is why you haven't really seen much this summer. So now all of a sudden we're a week away from the draft. I promise you we will get back into action here right away, but one more weekend where I try to take things a little seriously on the side, and then we'll discuss Oilers all week next week. Like I said, equipment upgrades are coming. A whole bunch of cool stuff is going to happen in the next week here on Dolynny TV. That's some observations, some notes, some news, and some updates. Friends, I'm Tyson. This is Dolynny TV. I am up on out of here.